Sunday, practice 4, that's all I know. Right? Just got done with it. Fire away, guys. What do we got?
Well, 4 days in, I mean, have there been like checkpoints you wanted to be heading at this point? Where do you feel like you're at progress-wise?
We have a series of objectives that we're trying to accomplish, throughout fall camp. But there's certainly no timeline on it, right? It takes what it takes, because to play winning football, that's what you got to do. But we're progressing nicely. I'm happy. The things that we're coaching the hardest right now are effort, ball security, straining, and playing physical. Those are things we're really harping on, and we're getting that from our guys. We've had 2 days in pads, so you do the first 2 without pads. It's hard to evaluate some of the physicality, but we're definitely, we're starting to ramp that up. I think that's really going well. So I'm happy with how we're going.
What's the install been like for you? How different is that in camp this year compared to what you're used to? Because obviously usually in the spring.
Yeah, the menu is the menu, right? The things that you put in, you feel like you got to put in because that's what you need to win a football game, right? If that makes sense. The challenge has been is that because we haven't practiced with them, you're not just installing plays and schemes and technique, but you're installing how we practice, our practice procedures, our everything from how we huddle to, to how do we transition out of the practice field, everything like that. So there's a ton of learning that's happening that goes way beyond just the actual scheme, and that kind of ties in and goes back to what we discussed before a little bit about how we're coaching strain and finish and effort and physicality, and that's what we're getting our guys to understand and do out in the field, the whole time. But it's been going good. They're understanding, they're picking up the offense really well. Like I said, we just got through our 4th practice, and I'm happy with how they're going. We don't have a lot of there's not mental errors going on out there right now, which is pleasing to me, which is a credit to the players and then all the guys that I'm working with. Coach Jones, Coach Wallace, Coach Z, and Coach Fuchs are doing a great job with those cats.
Just because of the uniqueness of the situation, I was wondering, did you guys kind of enter camp like maybe a rough draft of the depth chart, or how did you approach that?
You take the feedback a little bit from the guys in the previous staff that are here. You evaluate what you saw on tape in the fall and in the spring, and you start to do some things. But as we said to the players, a lot of who's getting reps and why was based off of what was happening in the summer and what we saw. So regardless of how much you played last year or the year before that, what kind of effort were you doing things the right way in the summer? With how we were training, because that's how we'll win games, right? And I know it doesn't sound sexy, but it does. Doing things the right way that's how we turn the program around, for sure.
After looking tape at practices this week, is there any position group player that you look at and say, wow, this is a pleasant surprise?
I couldn't give you a specific one. Every group is growing and improving. And I think that's probably what I'm most excited about, is that from one practice to the next, there's growth. They're taking the coaching, and then they are stacking them together, as we say, right? We're stacking good practices and technique together. I don't want to name any names because I can't think of one off the top of my head to your question, or any position group, because I think they're all evolving and growing. So I've been pleased again with that.
This is probably a hard one to answer, at least now. When you go to a camp with this kind of a weird timeline, is the goal to get everything in that you would normally be able to, or have there been sacrifices that you said, we won't have time for this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so what you have to do, and I think this happens every camp, or every year, when you talk about what you have to install. One of the hardest things I think to do, especially from a coordinator standpoint, is to hypothesize and project what you're going to need week 1, what you're going to need week 5, what you're going to need week 10, right? Okay, and so on. And that's predicting the future, which isn't easy, right? So you make sure that whatever you install, what you do, it's executable for your players, right? Okay, and you certainly, obviously, the personnel that you have needs to be able to do what you're doing. We've always been able to be flexible enough schematically because of how multiple we are to have certain packages grow based off of our personnel and who's available and who's not. But to your point, there are things that you say, you ask hard and you say, do we really need this now? Or is this something that we can wait till maybe the bye week to install, or after week 2 to install? Okay, so you have those questions and you kind of reflect on them. I guess through the years, going into year 16 here coordinating, I've learned and kind of whittled it down to the point of saying we need this to win, right? Regardless of who we're playing. And certainly in looking at the Big 12 and the league and the kind of defenses we're going to see and face schematically, studying those. So that of course is going to have some impact on the sort of plays that you want to install and rep. But it really comes down to, it's really not going to be the scheme. It's going to be about how we do those things. It will be. And that's what we're doing out there in the field. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Can you describe what that means?
Yeah, so you have your core plays, which won't open up the whole playbook here for you, okay, for the opponents, but you say, here are the 6 things that we're going to master, and we're going to be able to do them on any personnel grouping, any formation, any kind of motion, any kind of tempo. We're going to do these 6 things, and we're just going to keep doing them over and over and over again. So going back to, hey, what do we install, what do we do? You go back to saying, here's what it is. Here's the base offense. We know we need that. We know this is going to be good against all these defensive schemes. Okay, it's going to cover all the bases. Let's get good at it. You know, I just talked to the offense yesterday about, you know, repetition and consistency is not the enemy. It feels like it sometimes, but doing it over and over and over again is not the enemy. And that is what we've been preaching and doing.
And along those lines, we hear so much about wide zone with you guys, and I talked to Scott a little bit about how the repetition with that, and also it works against a lot of different things. Can you just describe what you like about that particular part of what you guys do?
Well, I'll go back. My first exposure to it was the late 90s Denver Broncos. Okay, Terrell Davis and all those cats, right? And I share this with the offense too, about how many Hall of Famers played on that team, right, from the quarterback to the tight end, receivers and backs, right? Probably there's plenty of linemen. And I first was exposed to that when I was at Western Illinois University, and started to get that taught to me about why and the advantages of it. The league that we play in here in the Big 12, and the skill set of our personnel really benefits from being able to distort and create some stretch against the defense. It's a run scheme that we know how to block against every front, every coverage. All of the things that complement the run play, the stretch package as we call it, are big play opportunities. Okay, potential for us to be able to be explosive with it. So it's something that we're majoring in for sure.
A couple more guys. Yeah, and with that, he said when you first came to Buffalo, Scott did, that you guys sat down and first talked about that. I don't know if you remember that meeting.
Yeah, I do. As we sat down and we were interviewing him, and he's known Lance for a while, so we came in, Lance, because you got to talk to him and to see if it's going to fit. Because Scott, when they were at North Dakota State for so long, they ran power, and he sat down and we were having a beer and wings, obviously in Buffalo, and I asked him, I said, okay, you got 10 run plays. What are you going to call? And he laid out a plan that I really liked, that fit with what we're trying to do. So he gets it.
You're the tight ends coach. I mean, what do you see from the tight ends early on?
Very happy with how they're progressing along. You know what I mean? I think you're going to hear from Mason, right? Mason's coming over here. Unbelievable man. Yeah, he's got it. He's an engineering major. Make sure you ask him some questions about that. He gets it. Trevor Cardell's looking really good, okay, in camp. Will Huggins is developing nicely, okay. Ben Miles, Matt Copeland, okay, and Spencer Rowe and Jared Casey. All those guys are getting reps, and they're all going to be able to have a role in what we're doing. And then we got the two young guys, Mason and Mac, that are coming in and learning and picking up. But they're super coachable. They're a great group to coach. They're on top of all the things that we did all summer long. They're a blessing. They're fun to coach.
Thanks, guys.
Anything else? Appreciate you fellas. Have a good day. This is mine, right?